Edit audio.
Before I had my kids, I read somewhere that bilingual children have higher IQs. Now, a fact like that is probably the worst thing for someone like me to read. Now, I didn't even have kids yet, but I had already crafted a plan that my bestie would be available every Sunday so we could have Solamente Sundays. It's a really good accent, isn't it? We would only speak Spanish, so the kids, yes, kids, I didn't even have one yet, and I was already envisioning siblings. So they would be fluent speakers in a second language, something that I always wanted but never had. Now, it didn't matter that my friend didn't live in town with me or that I hadn't asked her if she wanted to be my kid's Spanish teacher. It just felt critical to me that I put this in place so my kids could thrive. I needed my kids, that didn't exist yet, to have all the support in the world. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, building a community for your kid. Hello, Well-Adjusting listeners. I am so excited for today's episode, and I hope that you are too. Oh, and in case you happen to be new here, welcome. Okay, we are so happy that you found us. Now, this show is all about helping people pick apart a problem that they're experiencing. It's kind of like peeling back a couple of layers to give our lovely guests a new perspective, or maybe, actual actions they can take in the real world to make life a little easier, or perhaps a little more joyful. So today, the lovely Lauren is joining us. Now, about a year ago, she and her husband adopted a daughter, and since then, Lauren's been adjusting to being a mom. But she's also been, do we say stressing out, or maybe contemplating is a better way to say it? She's thinking loads about the idea of who should be in her daughter's life to enrich and support her. Now, she wants to make sure her daughter's life is full of love and lessons. And she also wants to respect that their family is multiracial and that her daughter is supported in all areas, even the ones that Lauren won't be able to support her in. And of course, she doesn't want to make any mistakes. Oh, geez, poor Lauren. I might just have to be the one to break it to her that no parent alive doesn't make mistakes. But let's see if all of our talk about building a strong community of support and going easy on yourself helps break this news to her.
My name is Lauren Passell. I am the founder of Tink Media. I write podcasts and newsletter, and I'm married to Justin, and I have a 1-year-old named Stella.
So full disclosure, me, Steph, and Lauren were out for a drink, and we were like, obviously you have to be on the podcast. So you have to tell us in your own words what your problem was you wanted to discuss.
Well, I have a 1-year-old daughter, and I waited 3 years for her. I adopted her. And adoption is complicated and messy.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I made this little book that was like, pick me and Justin, and then it went out to birth mothers. And we just sat back and waited. And we were about to give up. And we got a call from the adoption agency that a mother had chosen us and that we had 2 weeks to get ready. And I didn't even own a onesie at the time. I didn't know anything. So we had 2 weeks to figure all this out. And we flew down to Houston, which is where Stella was born. I got to be in the delivery room, which is pretty rare.
Amazing.
And this birth mother is just an amazing woman. She didn't have to let me in that way. And she did an incredibly scary thing, And now she's part of our family as much as she wants to be. We chose this adoption agency because it really prioritizes the birth moms. And she kind of wrote a contract of how much she wants to be in our lives. We have certain barriers, of course, but if I can go visit her once a year for Stella's birthday, if we can have FaceTime chats, if we can exchange photos, I want all of that. I text her all the time. I call her. So I guess the thing is I have this unconventional family that I absolutely love. And I want all the support. This kind of family requires a lot of extra people, and there's a lot of extra people there. So I was, how do I explain this? We wanted to baptize her.
Okay.
And I have a complicated relationship with the Catholic Church. I'm interested in religious studies. I think it's fascinating. I don't believe any of it. I think the Catholic Church is so fucked up and hilarious. I love the gaudiness. I love the art, the prayers, the singing. I love the rituals. I love it. So we're getting ready to baptize her, and the Catholic Church is just like complete pains in the asses about every single step. I had these godparents chosen that I wanted that would have been perfect. They were there with Stella from the day she was born. And they're like, oh, she's Jewish? No. And I was like, all right. I was like giving them other options. They demanded that the godmother be practicing Catholic with a letter from their church. I'm like, who's a practicing Catholic? Are you kidding me? You find me a practicing Catholic. God. So anyway, I end up having to go with my grandmother. Now, my grandmother, I love her, but that's not who you want as a godmother. She's 85.
Right.
But it got me thinking, and I was talking to my friend who's Jewish, who was unable to be the godmother, who should be Stella's godmother. And she said, well, what do you want in a godmother? And I said, well, I'll send you what the Catholic Church says. And she said, no, what do you want in a godmother? Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, whoa. And I was like, this actually requires multiple people. I need an advocate system. And it got me started thinking about what is the family and the community system I want to build for her, because my daughter is Black. I am not. I can't teach her everything that a Black woman should know. That's one example. I don't know anything. So who are the people in my circle that I can bring and say to Stella, this is your person for this thing, and she's going to be here for you. And how do I choose those people? Who are those people? Who are the important people for her?
It sounds like you're talking about chosen family and who to put around your child, because you want to make sure that she feels supported and loved, and also has culture and all of the things that she needs to thrive, right? So what's interesting is that, like, you have all these factors, right, of a multiracial household and adoption, and there's all these pieces, and it forces you to look at these things. It's very similar to my situation in that it's an LGBTQ household. We have to look at all those things too. Like, I've got a son, and not a single amount of maleness in our house. Like, even our cat's a girl. So it's like, we're trying, like, how do we put in place male figures for him? You know, so it's a similar type of thing. But I want to start by just assuring you that every new parent goes through this. Like, who's your community and who do you want around you? So I think that question that your friend asked you is really important, of like, what are the qualities of what you want, and what are you struggling with matching it? And I also have about 150 questions. So sorry to put it this way, but about your concerns and your fears about all of that.
Yeah.
I said 800 questions. You choose the one you want to answer first.
My fears. Sometimes I worry I'm not afraid enough.
Of which part?
I see a lot of fear in parenting, and I'm not super afraid. I'm not afraid.
That's great.
But at the same time, I don't want to mess it up, and I'm very aware. I guess, no, that is a fear. That there's certain things that I can't teach her, and I'm not even going to know what I don't know.
Well,
there's just certain things.
I'm going to ask you a question about that. Let's say you and your husband had a baby, you two had the baby naturally. Would you have the same fear? There are certain things I'm not going to be able to teach my child. I had my daughter naturally, and I can't teach her makeup. Look at this outfit I'm wearing right now. I can't teach her dating men. I can't teach her, no matter who you are as a parent, there's always going to be things you can't teach them. Yeah. But you can teach them how to be in the world.
Yes.
Can you be a good person?
You're bringing up a good point, because through the whole adoption thing, my husband and I would check in with each other and be like, is this an adoption fear or a normal new parent fear? Because they're very similar. So then I remember when my best friend got married, I remember loving planning the wedding with him, because he's gay. And he could throw all the rules out the window. And he actually adopted a daughter too. And so he's been able to create his family on his own rules. And in a way, I kind of feel like I can do that too.
You totally can do that.
Yeah. So maybe it's not so much fear as, ooh, how can I really do this well? And we are breaking tradition already. So like, and a lot of tradition is fucking broken.
Yeah.
So how do I do this right? So it's more like I'm excited about the opportunity. And I was thinking about, because like a godmother is technically a good idea, I guess. Like somebody there that's not me. That's the other thing. That's not me. I think we need more than me. You guys know
You
me.
need to build
I'm
a
mess.
community no matter what. But what's funny is, Lauren, do you realize that you're already trying to optimize parenting? Like you're such a business owner that you're like, I recognize that there will be faults, but if I could build a deck and I could implement a system,
Yes.
I think to a certain extent, and it could possibly be, I mean, there's the whole hellishness of the 3-year wait in adoption and the unknowing and uncertainness, but you didn't get, there's a reason it's 9 months, not just because the baby's cooking, but it gives you 9 months to be like, how am I going to do this? What do I want to do? You had 2 weeks to get some onesies in a crib.
Yeah.
Because all that time during the 3 years, I suspect you were trying not to get your hopes up because you
Yes.
don't want to be disappointed or crushed. So you lost a whole period of time to prepare for like building community, doing all that. All of a sudden you were like Insta baby. It's like the weirdest experience of like, wait, Insta baby. And I feel like you should just a little bit go easy on yourself. And I'm just here to tell you that this is all going to get sorted.
Yeah. But also I still love the idea of, okay, so this is where I start to sound a little nuts.
Oh, I want it. Bring it.
Okay.
You're in very good company.
Exactly.
So,
Steph and I are like rolling up our sleeves. Yeah.
I mean, so I was mentioning the Catholic Church and I was a religious studies. That's what I studied. I wanted to go to divinity school. I thought I'd be a historical Jesus scholar. And
Sure.
I love the story of the Nativity. And I think about it a lot and how wise men came and brought gifts. And I think about Stella a lot in that story about how, first of all, her name is Stella. It's the star that, the wise men followed. She's my light. She's my everything. And these people brought these gifts to her. And I guess that's the way I'm thinking about it.
I love
think
that.
about people bringing gifts to her. So maybe it's not so much like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do it. Because you're right. That's a normal parenting thing. But it's what gifts do the people in my life have that they can bring her?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, I do like the idea of a community and there being other people in her life. I feel like I'm like shopping. Like, ooh, if I could take that skill from this friend and
Yeah.
that skill from my mom, and my mother taught me this, I want her to teach Stella this. But what if I say to my best childhood friend, Patty Jenkins, what if I say to her, Patty, I want you to teach Stella about friendship or who I was as a child, because only you know. So that's your one job, and you can check in with Stella. And when you see her, that's you of one job. So that's the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so much coming from a place of fear.
No, it's you're like a CEO who's like putting people in place. And I absolutely love it because I do think, I mean, there's a reason that whole phrase in that book, it takes a village exists, is because it does. It does take a lot of people. It reminds me of when my kids were, and maybe it was even before kids, like I had this vision of my best friend Heather is fluent in Spanish, and we were going to have solamente Sundays, where we only spoke in Spanish, and the kids would learn. Well, it didn't really. She came over on Sundays, but it didn't happen. But like, it doesn't mean it's not a great idea.
It's like you're project planning this, and to some degree that's great because she's a baby and she can't do it for herself. But at some point she's going to decide, and that point could be at 4 or it could be at 15. But at some point she's going to be like, I like the vibe of this person and I don't like the vibe of that person. And also I want to learn more about this and I don't care about this.
Well, for sure, that's true. Absolutely. But it's also, I think there's an in-between stage where you are putting people around them, but I think it is less formal, right?
Well, Robin, who's around your children and how do they get there?
So, okay. So like, I really cherish friendships. I seek out people that are good people in the world. And then when I find them, I'm like, oh, we're friends now. And then I keep them in my orbit. And I put them all around my kids. And I look for things that might be lacking. And I think this might be really particular to your case. Like, if, you're like, my daughter's Black, but I am not. So my son is a boy. I am not. So like, I try to put people around. So I made sure to sign him up for a lot of sports where there'd be male coaching. I looked for any of my guy friends from college. To this day, when I go to my friends Aileen and Bud's house, I'm like, listen, I'll pay if you and the boys take Henry golfing. I pay for everybody, you take them golfing. So I just look for things and I put them in place. But I do think to a certain extent, just having your people around, like Patty Jenkins, and calling her Aunt Patty, like you're giving a nod to the kid, like this is a person who's important to me. And my kids understand chosen family because everyone around them is aunt or uncle this. And they don't know that I have thought behind who's there, but they're there. And to Steph's point, at some point they do choose. And then I foster those people. Like Maxine was obsessed with producer Steph. Obsessed. So I needed clothes for some stupid thing. Steph took me shopping. I brought Maxine so that Maxine could be like her little helper because I knew that she just connected to her. So you look for the connections and you watch. And I think there like needs to be a trust in you hire people, yes? You look for things in people. You look for people who work well together. You're going to do the same thing. But to Steph's point, maybe a little less project managing.
Yeah, I never saw it this way. This is so interesting. Also, I worry that it was a little like, or is a little like, okay, I found my team, my employees, and I assigned them, and now I'm leaving. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you got that, right? You're going to teach her about friendship because I don't want to worry about that. Like, I wonder if that was in my head a little bit. Like, not just like, I'm not good at that, but like, I can't do it all. I don't want to have to. So this way that you're talking about, that's the harder thing to do.
It is harder if you're a control-oriented person, which
I'm not,
I think everyone...
though.
I am. I can only say that. Steph's making a face at you.
I don't know.
I don't think you're control and you're a planner.
Goal-oriented.
Okay.
If you're a person
Yeah.
who likes things to go away and you like to set things up and you like them to be, you're strategic, let's say it like that, like it can be harder because I think one of the first things that I learned from people was they're often like, let the child lead. And nothing I hate more than let the child lead because you're just like, what? I want them to be who I want them to be. But it always reminds me of that Oprah thing. Like it was something like your children are not yours, they're of you. Like I always think of it as my job is to just like give them the things so that they're good people in the world and then let them be the type of people they are meant to be. But it's very difficult to do.
It feels like you're looking at what could be of Stella rather than looking at like what is of Stella. And like in business, this often happens where like you hire someone in a role, right? And then naturally, for some reason, companies are like, well, once you get to a certain point in that role, you'll become a manager. But like they don't usually check in with the person to be like, do you want to be a manager? You know, they're just like, well, that's the trajectory. And I've put the system in place and the people that are going to coach you to be a manager and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like you're doing a bit of that with Stella, where it's like, well, these are all of the people that I have and the things that you could grow into, which like part of that is beautiful because she has the options, right? So if you're thinking of it as like a plethora of options and support, it's beautiful. I think when it becomes trickier is when it's not seen as like an option and instead it's seen as like, well, this is the person that's going to teach you this and you will like do that, or this is the person for that. It's like, it's more of a like, these are the people that are open to you if you like vibe with them, and then who knows? Maybe Stella will want to be a hockey player. Did you put a hockey coach in?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about the hockey players.
You can't, that's the thing. You can't possibly know who they're going to be. Like I got two kids raised in the same house, so fucking different. And I'm all the time being like, didn't we parent them the same?
When it comes to parenting, the challenges can feel endless, like figuring out dinner while juggling everything else. That's where Graza olive oil comes in. Graza is single origin from pure Picual olives in Jaén, Spain, and offers 3 types. Sizzle for sautéing veggies, Frizzle for for that high heat crisp, and Drizzle for dressing up salads or desserts. And forget messy tin cans. These come in easy-to-use squeeze bottles. Visit Graza.co. Use promo code EVO for 10% off the trio and start making meals more joyful.
It's funny. I almost wish it's like I need to talk to the people on my team to figure out what kind of mother I am or what kind of leader I am. Like, because with them anyway, and I listen to them. I can't believe I'm talking about my business when comparing it to my parenting, but like,
There's similar skill sets, though.
I am very much like, what do you want to do in this team? Like, what do you want to, I'm not very control. In fact, I think I'm the opposite. And I think like, I am not a perfectionist, and I am not a perfectionist. I am one of those people that like says a lot of things and launches a lot of things, and I mess up a lot, and I'm okay with that. I don't get easily embarrassed. So it's not perfectionism.
By the way, we could probably just like end everything right there then, because that's the whole thing of parenting, is that you try a lot of things, and when it fucks up, you don't beat yourself up. If you can do that as a parent, if you can put people in place and be like, I thought Peggy was going to be this for my kid, but they're not. Next.
I think what you're teaching me though is okay, because the first question that you asked me was like, do I have fears? Is this supposed to be my therapy session? Because that's what it is. But you asked me about my fears, and I was like, I don't have fears. I'm not afraid of anything. And it seems like I didn't realize how afraid I was. I think, tell me what you think about this. I think it all comes down to the fact that I am not Black and she is. And that's, not everyone even thinks that I should have her, Yeah. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
And I think it all comes down to that. So me thinking I'm not, I don't have the tools for her.
No, so you want to give her everything.
So, but what you're kind of saying is like, yeah, you don't, and no one does. The fact that I can watch her and help her build her own community, I can do that. I can't do that.
Listen, there are many, many, many people in this world that think I shouldn't parent my own children that came from my body. Many people think I should never have done that. You cannot worry about those people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying ignore. I think it's incredible and it's important that you honor, her culture, and that you make sure that you put things in place to help her understand her experience in this world, because that is going to be different from yours. And I think that's important. And it's true of every parent, but we should never minimize that in your case. But I really think, Lauren, I think it's important for you to just remember in these moments that you are providing love to a human being who would have been in a situation that would not have been ideal. And that's everything.
Yeah. You're right. I can't worry about that. I just thought of something, and I'm not sure if this is connected. This is also weird. When I was in college, I always wanted to adopt since I was 5 years old. I wanted my parents to. I tried to convince my parents to adopt when I was 5. And then I realized I wanted to adopt. And I wrote this paper in college that no one understood. And then I think to this day, I try to explain it to people and they look at me like I'm nuts. So I'm bringing this up again. I wrote a paper about how I thought I would be a better mother if I adopted than to my own children, because I would be like looking at them as a real person and not as someone who has my shit and my problems and is exactly like me and has my issues and stuff. And I thought, I can help you because I'm going to look at you like a real person. And now I'm looking back and thinking, maybe I am more controlling, because that seems like a business thing to do, right?
It seems like you're trying to avoid pain.
Yes.
Because it's like you're trying to say, like, I don't want to have all these things, so my shit won't be in. But then naturally, this other side of problems comes up. It's like, I think the thing that might be really great for you to walk away embracing is that you will not come out unscathed as a parent. Your children will not come out unscathed. It is impossible. We are human beings who bring our own shit, whether they came from our body or not. You know, like my wife adopted our kids. She's not biologically connected. My kids have many similarities to her. Some of them have some of her stuff. They have some of my stuff. They got all the stuff because they're in your house. It's unavoidable. And I think it's really interesting that even back then you were trying to solve the problem of parenting. You're like, fuck that shit. I'll just adopt.
Right.
And then
that doesn't
cut to different set of problems.
Yeah.
Like sliding doors.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that feel to like sit in that for a minute to just be like, that really did. I really just stole that from my therapist, Patricia. So sorry, Patricia. But I'm really curious. What does it feel to like think about that like that?
I mean, it's enormous because I've been thinking about that for 20 years. Yeah, it's kind of a weight, I think, off my shoulders. Yeah. Because I think maybe a lot of the things that I was worried about and maybe feeling a little alone because I was like, oh, this is because I did not give birth to this baby. And really, I'm not alone because it's a parenting thing. Maybe. For her first birthday, her birth mother, well, it's funny because we were with the whole family and her aunt, her birth
Family
mother's
of origin?
aunt, yes, called her birth mother. And then they looked at me like, oh no. And I was like, no, you're her mother too. Like, you can do that. You can call her that. Like, I don't know what to call. We don't know our names for each other yet. But for her first birthday, I flew her down to this tiny town in the South to be with her birth mother, her half siblings, her cousins, her aunts. And I was really scared to do it. You know, there's nothing to prepare you for that. Like, I don't know anyone that's ever done that before because part of the contract, we're going to go do this once a year. And my only fear is that Stella's birth mother, the only thing that I have there is that she eventually will drop out and say, I have this other life now. I'm still young. And then I'll have to explain to Stella, you know, she was there and now she's not. But I can't worry about that right now. Right now,
You
we're going to
can't
get to
worry
see her
about
every
it,
year.
but you can put resources in place right now, though. And I would really encourage you to do that, Lauren, because, you know, I hosted for years another podcast that was about creating LGBTQ families. And we talked a lot about adoption. And one of the consensuses that I heard was that there's a missing piece. And I think that that's one of the reasons that we went from closed adoptions to open adoptions so that they trying to bring it in. And it's a similar philosophy that I've used with my kids about talking about and finding the right language, because it's like that is a struggle of we call the donor, we call him the donor, not a dad. Some people use different language. That's the language in our family. But like having an ongoing conversation from when they were young and then just adding on to the conversation as you go. So it is part of her history. So if that happens, it doesn't happen out of nowhere. So you don't, it's not a worry you have to take on, but it is probably some work that would be beneficial for her if you were to start putting that into place. Like there's so many books, I would encourage you to find adoption support groups. You don't have to do it all yourself. You could just look around and someone will say something, you'll go, oh, I didn't think to do that. Like you should not try to reinvent the wheel on this. But I do think that that's an important thing that you're thinking about, to put that into place, because it is an unknown.
And I guess a lot of the thing too is back to like me being like, okay, then how do I plan to prepare for this? Like it is a lot of like chill, sit back, see what kind of person she is and how she deals with things, and
but get support.
Take it one day at a time. But yes. Well, yes. And I mean,
and that's hard to, those two things have to happen at the same time.
Yeah. What I was thinking about also when I'm thinking of support, it's not nothing that I have Stella's family. In fact, it's funny because their middle name in the whole family is Simone. Everyone has the same middle name, Simone. And every single night, my husband and I, when we cheers our wine glasses, we say to the Simones, and it's these women. And when I went down there, I wasn't sure what would happen. I wasn't sure if I would cry, if I would feel uncomfortable. And it was like, oh, my family is so cool. And they're in my family too.
Yeah.
So I think it's also just being grateful that I have them and maybe leaning into them more than I am. I think that, because that's a tricky thing. How
You
comfortable
see what's right
are
there.
they?
I'm like, my eyes just got big. You see what's right there. That's not a decision you need to make right away. 'Cause
Right.
You're still
But-
finding your way with it.
Oh, exactly. And like I said, we're trying to still figure out what to call each other, right?
Yeah.
But they're there. And it's going to, things will change.
But as long as
But
you
that's
talk about
something to
it,
think about.
as
Yeah.
long as you talk about it, Lauren, it's in your house. Then
Yeah.
Stella has an understanding of it. You and your husband, like if you're talking about it, you two are going, are we okay with that? Do we like that? Is that weird? Well, what could happen if we accept that language? And she's hearing the conversations. She's hearing you work through it. She's understanding placement of people. Like they get it. They get chosen family. They get,
Yeah. Oh,
that's they just get it.
what you just said. That's the gold. I have to give her credit, Stella, more credit than I'm giving her because she is really strong and smart.
Yeah.
And she's going to figure out, it's not all me figuring this out for her.
You just watch her figuring it out.
Yeah. I truly feel like this has been a therapy session for me.
I only have one bit of homework because we've talked a lot about you getting comfortable with the idea that it will happen organically. And I think that is really important. We haven't talked as much on like the multiracial household. I think the only bit of homework I have for you is to find some group that is a starting place for you to just maybe go to one meeting or read a few posts just to see if there's anyone that feels like you. Just start that process, one step in that process, because I do think that's important to put in place. Because like, to your point, you got upset when you started to talk about like, there's people in the world who think I shouldn't be doing this. And I think there's a level of, you need to talk about that to get comfortable with that to help release that.
Very true. I am in a group on Facebook, which I don't even have to say this is a terrible idea because it's a toxic, cruel place to be. I think I need to work harder to find something more healthy. Yeah.
There has to be something that, and we'll of course do some research and see if there's something like Steph's doing it right now. I'm looking at her face and she's typing. This is what Steph does. She's like a
I'm just
magician.
finding books because I know there's children's books that talk about like everything now, and I think that's like so amazing because you don't have to. It's almost like you're trying it on, like, and LOL at me giving this advice. I don't have any children, but like you're reading these stories and you're seeing how different people are explaining their family and like feeling like it's beautiful and knowing it's beautiful. And then you get to watch her reaction and your partner's reaction and how it sits with you. And then maybe you try a different book and that has a different way of talking about it. And eventually you'll be able to like have all these resources and then come up with your own. And by that time, you know, Stella will have heard like 6 different variations of different lovely families that are all like bits that she can take. And then you'll be able to be like, okay, well, they use this word, but we use this word. Like, this is who your auntie is, or this is who your uncle is, or this is who your, you know, birth mother's sibling is. Like, whatever.
And doing it Steph's way in the way that we're talking about will make it child-led because she will ask questions as you read the books. Like she's 1 now. Like I think it was, my daughter was like 3 when we started it. And the reason we started it was because we put her in daycare and she recognized our family was different. And she was going up to men on the street and saying, that's my daddy. So whenever she would do that, we would bring the book out and then we would read it for a week. And then anytime we wanted to talk about it, we kept it in the nightly rotation.
Well, this makes me really excited actually, because like I said, I love my family and the unconventional way I've gotten to this point. I love my life and I can't wait to see what she makes of it and what questions she has
Yeah.
and how, like, there's going to be hard stuff. There
Yeah.
really is. But I also think I went in too much worried about the hard stuff.
You got time on that.
Yeah.
You know what you could do? You could, especially the Simones is such an incredible story. You could write your own little child story and then
My
it would
God,
be her
Robin.
story and you could read it to her every night and then you add on to it. That would be fun homework.
I
Well,
was
actually,
going to say the same thing. I feel
I
like it would
love
be
that too
really
much.
cool to make like a little flip book or something for y'all to like talk about who she is and all of the people in her life that are like even my sibling has a picture of like all of us in like a book that she goes through and it's like, you know, Aunt Steph is good at this, this, and this, or Aunt Steph loves this, this, and this. And then it's like a way to show her the options and the beautiful community around her.
Oh my
That
God, you
is
can already see the
not-
early pages of like, we waited 3 years when we were just about to give up. Like, it's like that
Oh, I
whole,
want this
talk about
so bad.
empowerment in the story.
This is giving me so many ideas. Because, like, I have always thought I need the pictures of her birth mother's cousin and her birth great grandmother or whatever. Like, and so she knows who those people are, and then we'll figure out together what to call them. But
Yeah.
also, my mom and my dad, pictures of those people and
Yes.
pictures of Justin's family and all that, so that she sees them and knows that her family doesn't look like everybody else's family.
Yeah.
But that's like a really cool, exciting thing.
And also, I'm just going to tell you, like, you just make a Google form. You don't need to, like, reach out to every person individually. Google form it. Hey, what is your name? What is your email? Send me 3 pictures of yourself you like. What 3 things do you love about yourself? What 3
Oh,
activities do you love?
I love this. Yes.
What do you want
project
Stella to
managing.
call you?
What do you want Stella to call you? What do you want Stella to know about you?
Yeah.
yeah.
Boom.
And then over time, find your support system. Over time,
Yeah.
find an adoption network that works for you. Over time, find your people that can help her with her culture. Over time, over time. That is parenting.
I
That's
think
coming.
the thing that will work for me when I'm like, I think I would connect easily with like finding someone one-on-one who's done this, like a friend of a friend or, something like that, where it's like a person, not like a social media group. Because you're right. I really need to do the work to find that community. Like that's
Over
really,
time.
really important. Yeah.
But I want you to be kind to yourself over time.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen immediately. Like
Yeah.
your kid's one. A
Yeah.
lot of these things aren't going to show up for a bit, but that's important to start with the story.
Right.
Like Lauren, I feel like you have this. I really do. I just think it's just like it was a lot very fast and you just want to do it great. And I think
Yeah.
you are being so intentional with your parenting, which is those of us who create our families in non-traditional ways are very intentional. And I applaud that. And I think from that comes good things. That's
hope
what I hold
so.
on to.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope you're
I
right.
hope so too.
I love to hear that. Thank you.
You have reached the Well Adjusting Expert of the Day.
Hi, my name is Lisa Schumann. I'm a reproductive therapist. I've been working in this industry for almost 30 years. So when we're talking about how adoptive parents can talk to their kids about their origin stories, I think there's 4 different elements to bring into the story. One is difference, one is sameness, one is telling the story, kind of explaining the technical parts of it, and the 4th is to be able to share your child's story, their particular story. So the idea of difference, I think, is really important. You want your child to be able to appreciate difference in the world and within their family. And so it's nice to be able to not only give them books that reflect different sorts of families, but also expose them to different sorts of families. And sometimes people, live in or near big cities. And so we're very fortunate to be able to say to our families, oh, look, here's 2 moms, here's 1 dad, here's someone who's adopted or someone who was donor conceived. We can say those things. If you live out in the middle of middle America and you don't have that opportunity, then maybe you find TV shows or even divorced parents or single parents. But the idea is so that your child feels like this is the way families are built. It's not just them, and that they can start to develop this appreciation for difference. The most important thing is to get comfortable with it, because children don't understand always what we say. They understand what we do. They understand how we feel. You can kind of pick up a vibe just in the room when somebody's anxious. So parents naturally are going to feel nervous about this. They want to get it right. They want their children to feel comfortable. And so if you have the opportunity to practice your narrative, some people really like technical language. Other people like to talk about it in metaphor. Some people like storybooks. So you find ways to talk about it that feel good for you and your partner if you have one. And then you practice and you get the kinks out and you get comfortable with it. And as you do that, it just starts to roll off your tongue more naturally. So your child just grows up with this understanding that this is the backdrop of their life. This is how they came into the world. And it's perfectly natural for them. It's not unusual for parents of non-traditional families to worry about how to prepare their kids for difficult experiences in the world. And I think, again, practice is so important. You really want to make sure that you feel comfortable with whatever you're going to say. I mentioned a story in my book, and I have adopted children, where I brought my kids to school and they had a kindergarten teacher who was lovely. He was experienced and wonderful. And his assistant was a woman who was very sweet, but she had a very, very traditional idea about families. And at this parent-teacher conference, she said to me, well, you don't need to come to this meeting because those aren't your kids. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you take care of them, you love them, but they're not your children. They didn't come from you. And so, I understood she didn't mean to be hurtful. Meanwhile, I'm thinking my daughter's hearing this at the same time that I'm hearing it. And you're stuck in a situation where, how do you handle this in front of your child with that person who sometimes people are hurtful and sometimes they don't mean to be? So I think the key is really to think about ahead of time. How am I going to handle these situations? And if you can practice ahead of time, it will really help you, because then you have some go-to responses in your pocket, right? You can say whatever you want. And if you want to lecture, if you want to be private, if you want to share things, practice so that you're ready when those things happen.
Okay, friends, that is a wrap. But before we go, I want to say so many thanks to Lauren for joining us, sharing her story, and just for being so open. I got to tell you, Stella's going to be an amazing kid, Lauren, because you're at the helm. Keep up the good work. And thank you to Lisa Schumann for bringing all her personal and professional advice on this subject. It was needed. It was necessary. And if you want to learn more about Lisa and what she does in the family building space, check her out on Instagram at the Center for Family Building. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.